Hey guys, welcome back to White Mule Farm. I want to talk to you a little bit about a project that we are working on here. If you've been staying up to date on what's going on at the farm, then you know that we have been raising chicks since February. We have a group of chicks that are getting ready to move in outdoors to their own coop. They've been kept indoors through the cold weather, the storms, all of those things as they're growing and just getting stronger and prepared to just endure the weather and the elements outside. And so this is the coop we're going to be moving them to. And this is going to be where our barred Plymouth Rock flock is moving into. We were really hopeful that that group of chicks was going to turn out to be all hens. But we've got 3 pullets and a young cockerel. And so they're going to be in their own coop. So
and they were supposed to go with Eliza,
they were,
right?
Yes, if they were all pullets, they were all going to go with Eliza so he could have his own flock. And then we were going to keep this coop as an alternate coop for an injured or sick bird that maybe needed quarantine or something like that. But plans have changed, and that's just the way things work in life. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do some repairs and maintenance and cleaning on this coop to get it prepped for this flock. Now you can see here, I've already pulled the lid off of the nesting box here, and I've done some repairs on it. So I'll go over those with you in a little bit as we make some progress through cleaning up this coop and getting it ready for these chickens to come outdoors. What was happening is that the roof or the lid of the nesting box was warped from water exposure and didn't close properly and wasn't going to protect the chickens from rain and wind and other elements. And so that had to be repaired. So that's going to be reinstalled. If you want to look up here at the front of the coop, it was kind of doing the same thing here where it was water damaged, warped, sagging. And so this is going to be pulled out, and this piece will also be replaced today. And if you look inside the coop, this coop has not been occupied for a long time. So there are weeds and grass growing inside the coop. Who knows what kind of critters are living in there? I have no idea. And indoors inside the coop, you can see that there is still old bedding. So this coop has to be moved. It has to be cleaned, prepped, fresh bedding. These broken pieces of plastic where the rain guard was installed are going to be removed because that's not safe for animals to have those broken pieces of plastic. So we're going to be doing kind of a coop update today. So I'm going to keep you posted on each step of the way, what we're doing and how we're doing it. So every step I'll let you know what's going on with this as we get this coop prepared for the new flock. Is the rooster is Louie, or the cockerel is Louie. So Louie's flock is going to go in here. So as we do the remodels, we have a little fixer-upper project today. So we'll give you updates here shortly on what is going on with this coop. All right, guys, so we're here, and I've gone ahead and emptied out this coop. I pulled out the bottom floor of the coop house up top. So there's no floor inside of it. I've pulled all the bedding out. I also pulled out the floor underneath the nesting area, and that was actually pretty rotten. So you can see here where, because the roof was leaking, this has been damaged by water, and that's no longer safe for the chickens to be nesting in. So this piece is going to go back to the garage, and I'm going to measure a new piece, trim it, and I'll pull off these trim pieces here that help to hold the nesting box dividers in place. And so I'm just going to be replacing this bottom piece. So that's something that I'll be doing this afternoon. But in the meantime, I'm still going to go ahead and get some of the heavy lifting done with this coop. Now, these coops are really heavy. This is the Producer's Pride. I believe it's the Sentinel coop from Tractor Supply. These are really good coops. We've had this coop for 3 years, and it's been outside 24/7 for the last 3 years. It's still holding up pretty well, but certain parts are going to.
But this is also used. We bought it used.
We did buy it used. Yeah. So it was like actually a couple years old when we purchased it. So we purchased this secondhand from another chicken owner, and this was our first coop. So anyway, there are just some parts that are going to wear out over time with exposure to the elements. And we have really hot summers here in Texas. We have lots of rain in the late fall and in the spring. And then sometimes we have really cold winters and sometimes we don't. It just depends. So lots of really dramatic changes in the weather. Our temperatures fluctuate up to 100 degrees from our coldest point to our hottest point of the year. And so anything that's exposed to those kind of elements is going to wear out over time. So otherwise, this is a very structurally sound coop. They're very heavy. We've had no problems with predators getting into the coops at all, but some of these pieces just need to be replaced. So this roof piece does not have to be unscrewed. It just slides out, not very easily because it's kind of warped, but this is a piece that can just pull right out.
In theory, it's supposed to slide right out.
In theory. So I may need an extra set of hands for this one.
Might have to put the camera down, folks.
But this one's, it's not screwed in or nailed in. So if your piece is not as rotted as mine, then it may slide out easier, but I'm going to require an extra set of hands to pull this one out. I have a replacement piece for this that I've already prepped. So I'll be showing that to you. I'll show them when we put it in.
Okay.
And so anyway, the next step is we're going to pull this out. I'm trying to pull off any pieces from this coop that are not necessary for moving it. We're going to be moving it, getting the weed eater out and cutting down the weeds that have grown inside the coop, and then rotating it because we do have some pretty intense sun as the weather warms up here as we move into late spring and summer. So this coop is actually going to be rotated to optimize sunlight and shade so that the chickens have plenty of sun protection through the hot months. So I'm going to give you an update once we get to that next stage. All right, guys, so we've rotated the coop. We moved it from its original location and used a weed eater to trim the grass and weeds that were growing in the area where the coop was previously located. Rotated the coop about 90 degrees counterclockwise just so that we can take advantage of how the sun is strongest during the warmer months of the year. Behind me is west, in front of me is east. So we want to make sure that the chickens have plenty of shade in the afternoons. It gets really hot in the afternoons during the late spring and summer here in North Texas. So we've done that to optimize shade for the birds as the weather gets warmer. The other thing that we did was, of course, the coop was already cleaned out. I sprayed the inside of the coop with this Mana Pro Poultry Protector. This is citric acid. That's all it is, but it does help to protect against fleas, ticks, and lice and mites in the chickens. And so since other birds were in this coop previously, I just wanted to do a thorough spraying of the inside of the coop. No birds are going into the coop this week. They're not going to move into their new home until next weekend. So this weekend, we're just prepping the coop for their arrival. So I've done a really heavy duty spray down of the inside of the coop with this to treat for any mites that are in there. Of course, we've pulled out any pieces of the interior of the coop that are rotted, that we're going to be replacing those because that rotted wood is a great breeding ground for parasites and mites that can feed on the birds and cause them to get sick. I'm getting ready to put the front roof panel on and the rear roof panel on. I am going to remove this piece of weather stripping that was over the back here. This has gotten really brittle and it's breaking. So I'm just going to get a Phillips head screwdriver and unscrew all of these connection points and take this off, and then swing by the hardware store and get another piece of that plastic. It should be really flexible. This has gotten brittle from exposure to sun and extreme temperatures. So this is also going to be replaced. So these chickens, by the time they move in, they're going to have a full coop remodel here. So that's where we are with this next stage of the coop. The other thing that I've done is I've treated the ground with diatomaceous earth inside the coop and all the way around. This is to help prevent crawling insects from getting into the coop. So things like ticks, mites, fleas, also, other pests like cockroaches. So this is going to deter them. Unfortunately, it does kill them. They eat it. It goes into their internal organs and causes them to die, but it's non-toxic. You do want to be cautious with diatomaceous earth in chicken coops. You want to make sure you're using a food grade diatomaceous earth because the chickens will scratch and peck the ground. You want to make sure that if they're eating any of that diatomaceous earth, that it is food grade so it doesn't have any contaminants in it. Also, you want to make sure that if you are treating a coop with diatomaceous earth, you let the coop rest for a while before you put your birds into the coop because chickens can be prone to respiratory illnesses. So if they're breathing in the dust from the diatomaceous earth, it can actually cause lung irritation for them. So that's why I'm treating the coop this weekend, and next weekend the young birds will be moved into this coop. So we want to make sure that it's all prepped, clean, bug-free, ready to go for them to move in so that they can be safe and healthy in their new home. All right, so this is going to be the front roof panel. I prepped this with a piece of 1/4 inch thick plywood, and then used sheet roofing, roll roofing. It's not the same color. I will come back and paint this at some point. I just haven't gotten to that yet. For right now, I'm not worried so much about the aesthetics of it.
The hardware store only had the one color.
I'm worried about it being functional. This was the only color available. I wanted black. If I was going to swap it out for black, I would have to order that. So this is what was available in stock. So this is what I'm using. So we cut down the piece of plywood to fit into this space. Like I said before, this just slides in. So I just wrapped a piece of 1/4 inch thick plywood with roll roofing material. I did use a roofing adhesive to prep the underside of this so that it would stick to the plywood and also provide a little bit of waterproofing for this roof piece. And so it was really simple to put on. I just wrapped it around the edges and then stapled it on with a staple gun on the underside. So it was a pretty quick project. We will be doing more of these for the other coops because we have a couple of other coops that are going to need their front roof panels replaced. And so once I've perfected my technique on this, then we will show you exactly how we did it. So I'm just going to slide this in. It should be a pretty easy application. It's going to be a little bit, in theory, you know, a little bit rough because I am sliding a rough roofing material in, but it just slides right in to this front part of the coop. Now, when you get up here by the roof, this is a little bit tricky. So I'm actually going to have to push up on this in the center and slide it in.
Yeah,
so
you usually have to push up right there.
I'll need an extra set of hands for this one. So I'm not going to film this part, but just know that if you were replacing your front roof panel, you will need to lift up on the center of that as you slide it into the groove so that it is secured. So
now, does this have a weather strip that goes across this too?
There isn't, but I think that would be a good idea. This did not come with a weather strip that went across the front of it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. The other coops don't look like that.
That would be a good idea just to protect this connection here. And that may be an added feature that we put on here since we're going to be replacing the weather strip in the back. So if we do any upgrades to this, then we'll let you know how we've changed things to make sure that this coop is prepared for the weather to handle that throughout the year and keep the birds safe and dry and warm. All right, guys, so we've got our new roofing panels on the coop. A couple things about this roof. One, number one rule in carpentry, measure twice, cut once. I did mismeasure a little bit, so I've got a little bit of an overhang here. That's okay. I'm not really worried about it. But I'll definitely avoid that mistake in the future when we're replacing other roofing components for these coops. We have the back panel on as well. This one, it just secures to the coop with a couple of brackets that are attached to the frame. And then the door brackets underneath it hold the nesting box door open. So those just screw into the plywood. I do recommend starting those with just a small drill, and either an electric screwdriver or a power drill, just to start your holes, just to make sure that you're able to get those screws in easily, because of course your plywood's not going to be pre-drilled. When you purchase these coops, they either come already assembled or they come unassembled, but all of the holes are pre-drilled for you. So just be aware of that. Some of the things that you're going to need for replacing the roofing panels on your Producer's Pride Sentinel chicken coop, you're definitely going to need a tape measure, something to write down your measurements with for sure. Measure twice, cut once. You'll need a 3/8 inch thick plywood. I chose a 1/4 inch because I wasn't sure how thick everything was going to be once I put the roll roofing on it. And I actually think I could have gone a little bit thicker and I would have gotten a little bit tighter fit. So on the other coops, when I replace their roofing panels, I will go for a 3/8 inch thick plywood for those, and that'll make them a little bit sturdier. And so roll roofing material, totally fine for this. I think it's going to be okay. It does not match our original. I do have a roofing stain and sealant that is black, so I will stain and seal this to make it match the rest of the coop, and I'll show you that once that part is finished. I do have some repairs that need to be made to the interior of the coop because the floor of the nesting boxes did get rotted out due to water leaking into the coop from the roof damage. And so I'm still working on updating this one. We would, once the nesting box floor is cut and replaced, then this coop will be safe for chickens to move into next week, even though we still have a few cosmetic adjustments that we're going to be made. I'm going to leave the front panel a little bit long because it actually gives a little bit more of an overhang for weather, and I may even screw a piece of plastic weather stripping onto the front of it just to provide even more protection against some of the strong winds and rains that we have. I haven't decided on that for sure yet, but this is where we are in our project on getting this coop up to date and ready to move our young chickens into it next weekend. So I'll bring you more updates, and once we get the floor of this nesting box fixed and reinstalled, I'll show you what we did with that. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope that this is helpful information for you. If you have an older Producer's Pride Sentinel chicken coop that is starting to lose its luster and roof rot is setting in and you're wondering what to do with it, can it be repaired or should it be replaced? My recommendation is use what you've got, repair it versus replace it. You're going to save money, and you're going to still have a really nice functional coop for years to come. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. I hope that this information has been helpful, and we will see you next time here at White Mule Farm.